Mindfulness Monday is part of our PD Health at Home series. Join us for our other programs, Wellness Wednesdays, Fitness Fridays, expert briefings, as well as our Spanish language series, EP Salud en Casa. You can learn more about our upcoming programs and register at parkinson.org/pdhealth. Okay. Let's slide. Okay. PD Health at Home is presented by the Light of Day Foundation, whose generosity has made today's programming possible. Today, I'm so excited to welcome today's mindfulness instructor, Dr. Maria Sirois. Maria has spent more than 3 decades with the goal of offering data, strategies, stories, tools, and perspectives that enable us to cultivate resilience, health, wisdom, and a greater capacity to lead ourselves and others well, no matter the strain or suffering of the moment. As a resilience expert, positive psychologist, and international consultant, she is known for her authenticity, wisdom, and compassion. Maria, thank you so much for leading us through today's session.
Oh, it's wonderful to be back with you all. Hi, everyone. I was trying to do the math. I have been doing something on behalf of the Parkinson's Foundation for definitely more than a decade. I think I'm up to 15 years now, and it is just a joy to be with you. Today's session I'm calling Minding the Mind, which is really more about learning to take the mind to a slightly better place, which we understand to be foundational for strengthening our resilience. Our minds can take us to crazy town, or they can take us to a constructive place. So I would love to have us testify a little bit. And to do so, oh, good, I can see many of your faces. Either throw a hand up in the air if it's a yes for you, or type a yes in the chat to the following questions. In the last 6 months or so, has anybody in the room jumped to a conclusion? Has anybody taken anything personally in the last 6 months or so? Any fellow catastrophizers? Anybody experience that kind of thinking where you're maximizing the negative information and minimizing the positive information that's coming in? Yep. Some of us are raising our hands for every one of these. Welcome to my world. Does anybody ever do this thing where the moment is so stressful, your first impulse, it's not the better parts of ourselves, but your first impulse just quickly is to maybe point the finger at someone else. Like if only there were a better ref in supporting my team, or if only we had a better politician in our mayor's office, or if only I had better children. Does anybody ever do that? Ever just like blame and shame for just a minute? Yeah. Okay. I love the yep. Yes to all, Linda. You're in my yep. We're in this together. Okay. These are what Dr. Karen Rivich from Penn calls common negative thought habits. We all have them. Everyone has some of them. Mother Teresa, the Dalai Lama, Thich Nhat Hanh, and all the paragons of calm and serenity have negative mind habits. The question is what to do with them when they arise. What to do when you wake up in the morning, for example, and it starts off in a rough way. Let's say you stumble a little, or you're irritable with someone, or you make an assumption about something and it turns out you're like 1,000% wrong. I did that just the other day. Like I was 1,000% wrong about what we were supposed to do that day. And then embarrassed that I had was wrong. And then because I was embarrassed, I was irritable. You start a day like that, and in your head, you're swirling, you're jumping to conclusions, you're assuming the day is just going to continue to be a roller coaster of bad. Or you wake up in pain or agitated or frightened on behalf of someone else, and you assume that the day is just going to be heavy. What we want to learn to do is take those negative thoughts and pivot them to a more constructive place. And we do this by using the genius of the and. I typed the word in the chat, the and. And the way that looks is like this. We have a negative thought. Let's imagine the negative thought is, I can't do this today. It's just kind of general, overwhelming, universal. Or the negative thought is, I will be frustrated. every time this comes up, right? Or no one understands me. Common negative thoughts. For those of us who are parents in the room, I'll never, oops, make them happy. Common thought in the parental or the grandparent parental world. What we want to do is learn to just notice the negative thought because it's real, it's valid, it's a part of who we are, it's a part of our experience of life, but not stay stuck there. So we write down the negative thought and then we include the word and. And on the other side of the and, we want to move to a thought that is slightly positive and true. So it looks something like this. I'll never make them happy. And I show up with a full heart as best I can. Notice it doesn't fix the negative one, but it changes our experience. So here's how we're going to practice. I would love you to think about a negative thought that bothers you. Maybe it came up this morning, or it's a common negative thought you have. It could be about yourself, it could be about the world. And then in the chat or on a note, write the word and a phrase that is slightly positive and true. Just a thought that is slightly positive, true. And no one understands me. And I have a couple of really good friends. I can't do this today. And I will practice my deep breathing. So let's see if we can get a few examples in the chat. Beautiful. And I will try today. And I love my husband. I'm too tired to go on that trip, and it would be fun. Okay. Excellent examples. Excellent examples. Now notice what's happening. We are not denying the negative thought because it's real. And we're not allowing ourselves to stay trapped there. Lao Tzu famously said the following: we want to watch our thoughts because they become our words, watch our words because they become our actions, watch our actions because they become our habits, watch our habits because they become our character, and watch our character because it becomes our life. So our thoughts are essential. We don't want to deny the negative, but we don't want them to trap us. The and creates what Dr. Rivich from Penn and Susan David from Harvard calls emotional and cognitive flexibility. I'm too tired to go on that trip, and it would be fun, right? And my best is good enough. And I can manage this in small parts. And I will not ruminate. And I'm planning to help a deaf and blind person, right? Here's what's interesting. I'd like you, for those of you who have practiced this exercise, and thank you so much, notice how you feel when you're thinking the negative thought. And then notice if anything changes when you pivot to the other side of the and. How do you feel on the other side of the and? A little more what? Or a little less what? Yes, I'll answer the but and question in just a minute. What do you feel on the other side of the and? A little more hope, right? A little lighter, a little calmer, a little less stressed. Isn't this where we want to live, everybody? A little more hope, a little calmer, less stressed, not so defeated, a little more motivated, less anxiety. This is where we want our brains and our hearts to be. I feel larger, more expansive. I feel like I can do something. My sense of maybe confidence or competency is going up. Yes, I don't like to socialize and I'll make more effort. Change is possible, question mark. Right. Just a little positivity there for Vicky. Here's why this is crucial to be on the side where there's a little more hope, a little more energy, a little more confidence, a little less stuck, etc. Because our brains actually perform better in states of positivity. So even this gentle shift to a slightly more positive place enables our brains to think more clearly, create more innovative ideas for what we can do next, and choose better next moments. So we want our brain, nobody's looking for Disney fantasy unicorns and rainbows because that's delusional. But we do want our brain, as much as possible, to be in a grounded, positive place. The and helps us get there. So, anytime throughout the day you find yourself in a ruminative, negative place, pause for a moment, literally write the thoughts down, build in that and you're just looking to acknowledge one or two positive thoughts and notice the shift that happens. You will be much more likely to take a constructive next step and one that feels better, right? The reason we do and not but is because but actually does two things. First of all, it usually negates any positive that you're stretching for with a kind of tiny bit of doubt. Secondly, it triggers a different neurochemical reaction when you're using but frequently. The and is what actually builds a brain that is more ready to be in a state of optimism. Again, grounded optimism. So the and is much better, much, much better for all of us. That's tool number one. Minding the mind also means learning to actually consider what kind of mind do I want to be in today? What state of mind would I like to be in? So I'm going to throw a few words down and I'd like you to think about where would I like or how would I like my mind to be today? Would I like it to be calm, happy, encouraged, playful, tempered, focused, right? These are various states of mind that are accessible to each of us. Here's the thing. Resilient folk try not to worry so much about the future because it's a mystery. And we do our best to get our minds out of the past because that's already done. Where we want to be is in the present. And minding the mind can look very much like today, I would like my mind to be this. So we're already getting some great examples: productive, peaceful, tempered. Um, I'd like my mind to be in a state of delight some days, right? So, what I'd love for you to do is acknowledge the state of mind you would like to have today, and every day is different, but just for today, joy, right? Bill would love some joy. And then ask yourself this question: what one small choice, 2% choice, 3% choice, can I make today to move me in that direction? What one small choice might I make today to move me in that direction? If you want to feel calm and you know answering that phone call from your sister-in-law is going to frustrate you, let the call go till tomorrow, right? If you want to feel prepared, that might mean, Michael, setting aside time to think through how do I set myself up for the day in a constructive way? If I want to feel joy, where am I going to find that, right? So notice that we're focusing on small choices. The and is a small shift to how we're thinking. Here I'm asking for small action choices. And the reason we focus on small is because success is built by making positive, small choices more often than not. I'll say that again. Resilience, happiness, satisfaction, contentment, all the good stuff is built by making more positive small choices than difficult, negative, not constructive choices throughout the day. Right. So avoid the second arrow, focus on the here and now. Reduce reaction time. Yep. And then those of you who've been participating in these Mindfulness Mondays, you may have learned already one or two things, maybe even three, throughout your time in this cohort that really work for you. Maybe for some of you, it's a breath work. For some of you, it's a mantra meditation, maybe meta meditation, maybe moving the body in a mindful way. Those are great go-to moves to build in on the days where you're clear about the kind of mind you'd like to have and use those as part of your repertoire. Okay? So if I'd like to feel productive, that means I focus on a project or taking a step forward for the project. If I want to focus on that feeling of being present and fully alive today, then I focus like Steve suggests from the UK. Hi, Steve. I'm going to live in the moment. I'm not going to be derailed by all this thinking about the past and the future and who said what to when and what might happen. I'm going to stay here in the present moment. So that's the second tool, which is to really consider what quality of mind do I most want today? And then here's a third suggestion, and then I'll open it up for some questions. This is going to feel a little off topic. The third suggestion is to build a moment of positive micro connection. Now, what does that have to do with a mindful mind? Here's what's fascinating. If you study resilience, which I've studied for more than 3 decades, or you study people who are happier, or you study people who are more confident and competent, there are a couple of findings that actually elevate all of those. Happiness, resilience, and a sense of being able to handle things in the world, confidence and competence. And it turns out one of the factors that is true for people in all of those three pathways is that they have a steady diet of small moments of positive connection. I'm hoping that we're all fortunate enough to have one or two kind of connections or relationships in our lives that are sustaining and nourishing and, present often to us. But it turns out that a regular diet of small moments where you hold someone's hand for a moment, or you have warm eyes together, like with the coffee guy or the newspaper person, right? Or you have a brief text exchange that is filled with gratitude. These small moments are absolutely nutrients for not only the brain, but the heart. And they also, interestingly enough, give us courage. You see, we are braver in the direction of what we most need and want when we feel less alone. So, creating a sense of a day that includes here's the state of mind I would like to be in, and here's a small way in which I know I'm less alone, actually strengthens our capacity to make hard choices, to face whatever pain or suffering we or someone we care about are facing, to create new opportunities for ourselves and to steady ourselves. This is resilience, steady ourselves in the presence of stress. Yes, exactly, Vicky. I use that word deliberately because micro moments of positive connection, like joining this cohort for half an hour, are nutrients. They are nutritive to our mind and our heart and our spirits. Gosh knows that it is hard enough to navigate a journey that involves a diagnosis like Parkinson's with a tremendous amount of support. Those days or those periods of times when we feel more alone than not are even harder. So we want to be thoughtful, mindful about that regular diet of small moments of connection. Can we have regular moments of really deep-hearted connection? 1,000%, yes. But that's not always possible. And even the people who love us dearly, I have a fiance the other day, like he was making choices that just did not make sense to me. Does anybody ever find this that the people who you're sometimes closest to, yes or no, just don't, they still don't make sense to you? Anybody? Yeah, right? So we can't always have those deep, heartfelt, glorious moments, but we can have a regular diet of small moments of connection. So the last question I want to ask you, and then I'll open it up for questions. How might you build in a tiny moment of positive connection in the remainder of the day? What could that look like for today? Is it a text? Is it a phone call? Is it a letter? It's maybe for Bill doing something unexpected. Is it getting out of the house for a while? Is it, Zoom, asking someone to Zoom with you? It's saying hello to strangers when you're out walking. Absolutely. Petting someone's, puppy as you walk past, right? I cannot emphasize enough the importance of these micro connections. Asking for help for Rita, 1,000% yes, builds trust, builds a sense of hope in the world, and surprise a friend with a gift for no reason. That's a great idea. Pray, right? And here's the beautiful research about prayer. It benefits the recipient as well as the person who prays. In other words, it has a generative effect. Okay, three things we've talked about: the and, being mindful about the state of mind we want, and then asking ourselves, how can we build that in a little bit today? And then micro moments of positive connection. Any questions at all about either of those three strategies? Stan, yeah, it's a lot to think about. So, my suggestion to you, and I love that this is being recorded and you'll receive it in an email so you could listen to it again as you wish, is to choose one for today. Just choose one for today and practice it. It's an experiment. Here's what resilient folk do: they try something, and if it works, they do more of it. So, to think of them as an experiment, yes, absolutely, you become more resilient over time. You see, resilience isn't about being strong or wise or, you know, um, mm, knowing all the time what to do. Resilience is actually the capacity to acknowledge what's difficult and pivot toward what is positive, constructive, life-giving, to make that choice with our minds, with our hearts, with our relationships, and with our actions. So resilience is about holding it all and choosing the good. Number two is really think about the state of mind you would like to have today. Productive, calm, filled with delight or joy, creative minds. Think of the state of mind you'd like to have today and then build in one small action to cultivate that state of mind. That was number two. Any other questions? Absolutely. You are welcome to share these. These are universal tools, meaning the research demonstrates that they're helpful for people living with a diagnosis, for people who are caregiving, for people who are best friends of, people who work professionally in the organization. They are helpful across the board. And one way to suggest them is to practice one first, the one that feels the best for you. Practice it. See how it makes a positive difference. And then say, I learned this thing on Mindfulness Mondays with the Parkinson's Foundation. It's kind of working for me. I'd love to share it with you. Hopefully, they will be open and you'll have an opportunity then to maybe expand the conversation to include other things that are working for you that maybe you could do together. That's a great question, Kim. I love that. I think we are good. So I know that Danielle has a few pieces of information to offer with you before we close today. Please note that Danielle and the Mindfulness Mondays team knows exactly how to reach me. So if any other questions come up, please let them they feel free to share my email and we can have a conversation offline about practicing these or why they are important and how they build resilience. Danielle, I'm looking for, I can't see you quite. Are you here? There you
Yep,
are.
I'm here. Let me reshare my slides. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Maria, and thank you everyone for joining us here today. Like Maria mentioned, just if you are looking for her contact information, we will share that. I will share her website on the in the follow-up email. If you want her email address as well, just email us at pdhealth@parkinson.org, and we'll be sure to get you connected with Maria. So thank you so much for offering not just your time, but just this opportunity to follow up with you as well after today.
Absolutely.
So we'll be back next week with Devin Hazy for our next Mindfulness Monday session on August 3rd. Please feel free to visit parkinson.org/pdhealth to learn more about our other PD Health at Home programs. Remember to visit our website for many, many more resources that addresses everything related to Parkinson's at parkinson.org or call our helpline at 1-800-4PD-INFO or email them at helpline@parkinson.org. Until next time, take care. Have a good day.